Forget to fertilize your planet tank? Do you not have the money to buy a autodoser yourself? Well, I might have a do-it-yourself solution that might work for you. Stay tuned. Hello fish keepers and other people who want to learn more about the fish keeping hobby. Welcome to Aquarium Thoughts, and I'm Dave. Today I'm going to talk about my do-it-yourself autodoser that I put together, mainly because I like to fertilize my aquarium tank for my plants in there, and I am always good at forgetting to dose. So I needed something to actually do for me. And of course, if you look out there, a lot of dosing systems out there are quite expensive, especially for my taste. So I decided to do something a little bit cheaper and just basically make one myself. First, I'm going to talk about the things you will need. First, what you're going to need is a timer of some sort. I first started on one of those electrical timers that you plug in and set that way, although lately I switched over to more of a smart control surge protector, which I could actually set the timer on my phone. Any timer would work as long as you could time it within like a minute or two. Because you're not going to keep this doser on for a long period of time unless you have it on a very, 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 very slow drip. So basically, you go find one for anywhere from like 3 to 10. The one I'm using right now is $30, but I also have it controlling my both my autodosers, the micros and the macros, as well as my CO2. And if I wanted to, there's also a couple USBs on there that I could also use USB devices and set timers on that as well if I wanted to. I will also put a link on the description on this for most of the stuff in there. Some of the stuff is not available anymore, but I will try to link something down there for you. Second thing you're going to need is what's called, basically it's a soda cap CO2 connector. If you're familiar with the brine shrimp hatchery do-it-yourself thing, I know King of DIY does one. This is the same kind of connector. Actually, I had a couple because I was going to try to do-it-yourself brine shrimp hatchery, which I never got to. So I have that already, but you need one of those, the ones with the two nubs that fit on top of a soda bottle. Which, speaking of which, you do need a bottle. A soda bottle would work. Another thing I found actually worked, which I first started this, was a Aquarium Co-op Easy Green bottle. This was the original one back when they were 500 milliliters. I'm not sure if the new one will fit or not, but you're talking about a 250 milliliter bottle. That's a 500 milliliter bottle. And what I actually done was I actually got a larger 1 liter bottle. I actually got that off of containerandpackaging.com. I purchased one amber bottle and one cobalt blue bottle. That way I can differentiate which one was my macro and which one was my micro. Just makes it a little bit easier for myself. And it also protects the fertilizer from the light, though it is inside my aquarium stand, so I don't really have to worry too much about light getting in there too much. But that's a couple things you're going to need. Now with the bottle, you're also going to need something that's going to fit that CO2 connector. The CO2 connector, which typically fits onto a soda bottle, is threaded as a 28-415. That would definitely work. The ones I got was actually threaded as a 28-410. You might not be familiar with what that means, but if you actually go looking for these bottles, you will soon find out what that means. It's just how they're threaded. You'd have to probably Google that just to make sure you're getting a bottle that does actually fit those CO2 connectors. If you go to, like I said, containerandpackaging.com, I'll try to link the exact bottles I did purchase from them, so that way you know what it is. So I'll try to do that. The other thing you will need would be an air pump. I was able to get a couple from Amazon for 99 cents. That was through a Slick Deals. Unfortunately, that particular pump is not available anymore. It was only available for a short time. One thing I do like about that pump is it does have a little control valve as well as control its flow. But I find most of the time I actually use another part of the system I made to actually control the airflow. I'll get to that in a second as well. Any air pump would work. I probably would go with something small, nothing really strong, because you really don't need a lot of air pressure. You do need some, especially if you have to pump up the fluid of ways to go. But I will put a link on some air pumps I have used, and the one I actually use that's currently unavailable. Now I can actually show you the box as well if you just want to hold on to 1 second. Okay, and this is actually the air pump that I do use. It's by Pet Magazine, designed and engineered in USA, made in China, of course. But that's just the one I use. I don't know if you can find that one or not, but like I said, any air pump would probably work for you. Most of the time you're going to be using a different valve to actually control the volume of air going through. The other thing you're going to need is, of course, airline tubing. I just use regular old airline tubing. Doesn't matter. You will need a couple check valves. I have one going from the air pump to the fert bottle and one from the fert bottle to the tank, just to prevent any things from siphoning down the wrong way. And you don't really want to lose a lot of the pressure in that system, because it does rely on some air pressure to actually move the liquid. I will show you how that works in a second as well. So that is pretty much what you need. I'm just trying to go through my notes here and see if there's anything else I missed. So basically all you're going to need is the bottle, again, CO2 connector, airline. Oh, that's the other thing that you're going to need, is you're going to need one of those airline control valves, where you put a airline on one side and another airline on the other, and it has like a little nozzle to control the volume of air that gets pushed through. That's the other thing that you're going to need. That is what I was forgetting. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and show you the system, and then I'll continue on. So stand by, stay tuned, and I will be back. Okay, I'm back, and this is inside my aquarium stand right now. It's kind of hard to see because it is dark in here. I do have this light right here, just temporarily in there, just so I can actually show you what it is. These two right here, this bottle right here, and this bottle right here are my fertilizers. I have one for my macros and one for my micros, which looks like my micros. No, this is my macros back here. The blue is my macros, and the brown is my micros, and I do need to put more in the macros, but that's another story. So anyways, these are my tubings that run to the air pumps right here. These are the air pumps I use. So basically it has a little knob to control the flow there, and as well as I show you further pictures, I will show you how I control the flow of air in there as well, and how much it actually pumps out, because you really don't want it to be gushing out into your aquarium. I just have them by drips. So basically I will show you those pictures momentarily. I'm not going to put one of these together. I'm just going to show you pictures of what I've done. That way if you want to copy this method you can. But like I said, there's other ways to do this as well. This is just the way I chose to do it. And stay tuned, and I will show you the steps on how to produce this auto-dosing system yourself. So hold on. Okay, so that was what my system looks like inside of my stand right there. In a little bit I will actually show you the other side as well, where it's actually working and putting fertilizer into my aquarium. I will show you that momentarily after this. And just to start off this section right here, I'm also going to tell you where I got the inspiration for this idea. Basically, it was another YouTube video. I think my son was actually watching it. It was a not even aquarium related, but it was how to make a Coca-Cola soda fountain machine. Basically, using the same principle. Basically, you have a bottle, you have an air pump of some sort, and you have tubing. You have air pushing into the bottle. Just pushing in, the hose doesn't even have to go down into the liquid. It just, the air pushes into the bottle with the liquid in it. And then you have another tube that goes all the way down to the bottom of that container. And basically air needs to go somewhere in the bottle. So basically what it does is it pushes down on the liquid to make room for it. And then the liquid goes through the hose on the bottom, and it goes up and it goes to where you need it to go. Right now I'm going to show you some pictures. It's going to be pretty much right over here. I'll throw the pictures up here for you, and I'll explain what's going on. Basically, this picture right here is my original setup, which I had one of those, it was still a digital timer that I found on eBay as well for pretty cheap. Basically, I used that for a little bit of time before I went to the more of the smart controlled surge protector. I have a bottle of the Aquarium Co-op Easy Green bottle right there, which I actually started using that when I was actually fertilizing it. The other thing in the picture is another air pump. I'll put that link on there as well. That works fine as well for me. And of course you have the airline with the check valves, and somewhere in there you have the CO2 connector already set together with the control valve on top. Let's see here. This next picture right here is going to be the CO2 connector with the hoses connected already. As you can see on the left-hand side of the picture, you have one hose going into the outer nub of that connector. With a little bit of airline, you don't need a lot at that point. Basically, that's just to connect to the control valve right there. You're actually going to connect another hose into that as well. And that little round control valve does regulate on how much liquid is going to be dosed into your aquarium. You only have to do a few drops at a time. Don't do a heavy flow, because if you do a heavy flow, what's going to happen is the minimum time you can actually set a timer for, in most cases, is 1 minute. And if you have a constant flow, what's going to happen is you're going to be putting too much fertilizer. I found over 1 or 2 minutes, small drops give you your 10 or 15 ml or even 20 ml, depending on how fast you have it flowing. On the right-hand side of that picture of the CO2 connector is you have a longer tubing, which will reach down to the bottom of your bottle. That's where the liquid's going to go up as the air pushes down on the liquid. That's basically making room for the air. So that is that picture right there, and of course that is the CO2 connector on top of one of those Aquarium Co-op's Easy Green. I'd probably recommend getting a larger bottle. I mean, you can use a 1 liter soda bottle. I just found this too tall for my system here, or a 2 liter bottle for that would probably work as well. Although a smaller one would probably work better. In the end, I'm not sure how accurate this be once it starts getting low, but it still works when it gets low too, so that's not a problem that I found. It's probably not as much as it was when it first started, as a nice full thing. So basically what you're going to have to do is you're going to get your aquarium pump, you're going to attach an airline to it, you're also going to put a check valve in the middle of there, so the water doesn't siphon back into the air pump, and you can put another tubing in there, which is in turn going to basically be connected to the airline control valve before it gets into the fertilizer bottle. Then once you have your fertilizers in there, you close the CO2 valve connector, and then you have another airline going to your aquarium, which is going to dump the aquarium, the fertilizer into the aquarium. That's pretty much how it is. It's pretty simple. That's one of the reasons why I went this route, mainly because it's just a simple ease of use. It didn't take me that much time to get it put together. There is many other ways to set this up. Yeah, you can use the air thing. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but for me, it's accurate enough. It allows me to dose my aquarium without me having to remember about it. You could also use what's called a peristaltic pump. I'll put a link to those as well. I just found that to be a little bit complex, more setup, which is just one thing I wanted to avoid. I'm sure a lot of medical devices, I know dialysis machines use them. Another thing that does use them would be probably those stuff that pushes saline into your IV machines. They use them. I mean, they should be pretty accurate. I mean, they use them for medical devices, so those would be pretty accurate as well. And I'm pretty sure a lot of those dosing systems you find out there that are costing upwards of $200 to $400 use those as well, mainly because of the accuracy. I'm not too worried too much about accuracy on my fertilizers, as long as it's not too much. That'll be problematic. But if it's off by a few ml, I'm not going to worry too much about it. But that's pretty much how you put it together. I'm going to show you a drawing of the. I'm going to do a little illustration on how the principle works, so you know that. And then right afterwards, I will show you how the pump is in action. I'll show you that in action as well, so you can see that. So stay tuned, and you'll see that. Hello, I'm back in. Now it's time for picture time with Aquarium Thoughts. Anyways, I'm just going to illustrate on how this system works. I'm going to draw, sorry about my artwork, it's not the best in the world, but I'm going to draw a little bottle right here. There is the bottle. Yep, there. Let me finish the bottle here. So there's the bottle right there. It's an ugly looking bottle, yes, but it's going to do the job. So basically right here you have the CO2 connector. You have one nub there, you have one nub there. Basically, you're going to have one tube here going out, and you have one tube here going out. So basically, this one right here is going to go to your air pump. That is going to be your air pump. And this one right here is going into your tank. And that's your aquarium right there. That is unimportant. That's just how you have it. This tube right here is just going to be right in here. It's not going to go further into the bottle. You don't need to go further in the bottle. But this line right here going to your aquarium is going down to the bottom. And of course you have your fertilizer in there. So what's going to happen is you're going to have air going into your bottle, pushing down. It's going to push down on the space in there. Your air needs somewhere to go. So what's going to happen is it's going to push down on the water, and the water is going to or whatever you have in there is going to decide to go up that tube right there, which is further going to go up into wherever you're putting it, hopefully your aquarium and not the floor. So basically that is how this system works, and that's basically the basic principle on this, on how to get fertilizers through this auto-dosing system into your aquarium. Of course, if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I just feel I've kind of been a little discombobulated on this video, so I apologize for that. But I just want to show you on how I do my auto-dosing, basically because I know there's a lot of ways to do this. Yes, you could buy an expensive autodoser, which it was just way too much money for me. Of course, those will probably be more accurate, mainly because that's what they're made for. Also using peristaltic pumps, I'll also leave some links in the description on the bottom below, would probably be more accurate as well. But I find this at least is enough accurate for me to actually put my fertilizers into my tank without causing me more money, more trouble in creating the system. I just find this is just the simplest way for me to actually do this. Peristaltic pumps would work, but I just found that it's still a little more complicated than what I needed it to be. So stay tuned, and I will close this video up. So hold on, please. And I'm going to give you a quick peek on how this system works when it's actually running. There, of course, is my little dosing tube holder that I created. That's the one I designed that I showed you the video on. Basically, I'm going to get this running just to show you how it drips. So hold on, give me a moment here. Oh, turn on mic. So basically, I went ahead and turned on mic, and as you can tell, this is going to take a little bit of time to actually get going because it just needs to push the air in, and it takes a little bit of time to actually get the pressure running. So in a moment you will see it. I chose the micros on this because it's a little more darker color. So give it a moment and you will see it running. Up here it comes. And as you can see, it's going to run up, turning up the tube, as you can see it, and then it's going to start dripping into my aquarium. And you can see the little drips right there. So that's pretty much how it works. I'm going to turn it off right now. We'll turn off mic.
Sure,
and then it's going to turn off. So that's basically on how the system actually drips the water into the fertilizer into the water column here when I want to fertilize. Now, of course, it's going to take a little time to actually stop too, so you want to take that into consideration when you are timing on how much fertilizer is going into it as well. If you have any questions, like I said, put your comments down below, and I could hopefully help you out on that. So anyways, that is my auto-dosing system working. So that is my auto-dosing system that I have for my aquarium here. One thing to keep in mind if you do this, and once you get it set up, you are going to need to time how much liquid is being pumped into your aquarium, basically so you know what the setting is and how long you're going to put it on for. I have mine set up to put approximately about 15 ml over 2 minutes. Things to keep in mind on this is when you first set it to go off, it might take about 30 to 40 seconds for the liquid to actually reach the point where it's actually being dumped into your aquarium. So if you already have it primed up, you're going to get more fertilizer in there than say if it's basically cold started. Another thing I like to do is when I refill the bottles, I close it up nice seal, and then I basically prime it up. I run it for a little bit, just for a second. I mean, it doesn't even have to be for a second, just so I know that the fertilizer is getting through the line and able to put it into the aquarium. Because some problems you can end up with is if you don't close the bottle tightly enough or correctly enough, if you have air escaping out of there, that's where the air is going to go instead of pushing down on the liquid and pushing the fertilizer into your aquarium. Just some things to keep in mind. So make sure you do get a time on how much you're putting in there. So I'd probably try over 2 to 3 minutes, getting like however much time. So if you only put 15 milliliters in, just basically set it for 3 minutes and see if it puts in 15 ml in there. If it doesn't, if it's less, then wait a while to cold start it, and just adjust properly like that, and then try it again, see where you're at until you perfect it. That's what this will take, is just making sure it is perfected like that. And I think that's all I have on this. If you do have any questions, if you need any assistance putting this together, feel free to leave a comment down below. I will try to be able to be of assistance to you. Hopefully I can. But anyways, if you do like this video and others I do, please hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe, share, do whatever you want to do with the video. But anyways, as always, have a good night, day, or whenever you're watching this. Thank you.